This week I'm looking at a ukulele from a pretty established and kind of quirky guitar brand, but to be fair to them, they have dabbled with ukuleles for quite a few years too. Keep watching. Yes, it's GotAUkulele review day back. This is your summary video review. See the link below the video for the full details, scores, photographs and that kind of thing. GotAUkulele is not paid for these reviews by the brands to keep it impartial, so thank you for my ongoing Patreon donations and those who donate through the PayPal. And why not think about subscribing to the channel? Hit the button down there and the little bell symbol. You'll be notified about new stuff that goes up. Okay, here's a brand I've known for years through guitar circles, and actually we're making ukuleles too when this blog started, and in fact not before, even before that, sort of 10-15 years ago. The brand is called Ovation, an American company, and this is the Ovation Celebrity UCS10P Soprano. Now, there's quite a lot of backstory to this if you read in the written review, but basically Ovation, guitar company that made their sort of fame and fortune making round-back, bowl-back guitars, made famous by the likes of Glenn Campbell, called the Balladeers. Very nice guitars they were, but they kind of fell out of favour a bit. They've dabbled over the years with ukuleles. There's been Ovation ukuleles before, but most commonly they've been put out under their value Far Eastern line called Applause, and they're the ones with that sort of leaf motif offset sound hole out here. This is a fairly new departure for them because they've gone back to their Ovation name. It's made in China though, so it's not an American instrument, and it's gone back to looking much more like a traditional Ovation guitar with a standard sound hole. So yeah, read in the written review for more details on the history to that, but this is a bowl back ukulele with a wooden top. Okay, that top is made of laminate KOAE. Fair play to Ovation on their website, less so to some of the reviewers and shops that don't mention it, but they say it's laminate, and it is laminate. It's a single piece. What I would say about that is if you're going to go with a veneer of something like KOAE, why wouldn't you go for something that was interesting to look at? The striping is a bit mismatched. It's darker on one side than the other, and it looks a bit boring. It's dropped into this bowl back material. It's a plastic with fiberglass in it, which they call lyra cord. It's the same stuff they put on their guitars. It's quite a deep bowl as well. Now, you've seen things like this before, because I suppose the biggest nod to it was probably the Magic Fluke Flea, who put a plastic bowl back on the back of their instrument too. It's a great effect as well, and it worked for the Ovation guitars, so it's natural that they're going to want to make a ukulele out of the same material. Where I prefer this to the Flea is that it's got a really nice texture to it. A lot of people talk about the Flea being slippy, and in fact Magic Flukes sell padded strips you can put on the back to give some friction to your shirt. There's no problem with this one. It's already grippy. You can hear how rough and textured it is. As I say, quite deep bowl. Decoration, we've got cream edge binding with a bit of black purfling around the top. I also like that because a lot of people complain about the fleas because there's a lip around the edge of a flea that kind of leaves marks in your arm when you play it. This is really nice and smooth, and we have an abalone sound hole ring as well. The bridge, slot style, that's Ovation wood, which is an African relative of rosewood, fitted with what looks like a plastic straight top saddle. That's really tidy. Finished with a satin, an open pore satin, and a very open pore satin. Hard for me to show you, but some of the pores in this look like woodworm holes, making it a little bit ugly, I think. But the other thing you've spotted here is that this is an electro, because there's a control panel with tone and volume on the side down there and a jack socket on the bass. People will be thinking, well, that's an active system. It isn't. It's a passive system with a control system, so no batteries in this at all. You don't see a lot of those, but it can be done. It means you need a little bit more welly at the amplifier, but not much. So it's a passive system that allows you to control volume and tone. Branded Ovation. I'm pleased to see that as a passive system without batteries and weight and complications, but it's ugly, isn't it? I mean, look, Look where those knobs stick out. That's hideous. I really don't like that. The neck is made of a single piece of mahogany, no joints in it at all, really nice and smooth. It's two rounded Far Eastern broom handle on the back for me. However, it is 36mm at the nut. And what is it? About 36mm at the nut. Read the review as to what the nut spacing is. So that works for me. It's fitted with more oven coal on the fingerboard, end-shaped but a little bit scruffy in the finishing. And you get a traditional 12 to the body, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 frets, which are quite skinny. They are edge stained to hide them, not bound, but there are no sharp edges. Pearly dots face out at 5, double at the 7th, and 1 at the 10th, nothing on the 12th. But thankfully you get side dots in all the usual spaces, including the 3rd. I quite like that for making it look a little bit more minimal on the front. Okay, the headstock is what I can only describe as the Ovation headstock. That's what they look like. I like it. It's very, very different for ukulele. Those staggered tuners is also a bit of a trademark for them, as is this sort of top lip. It's faced in more dark wood apart from that lip, and the Ovation logo is screen printed under the satin in silver. Yeah, I quite like that actually. The tuners are unbranded, but they're very good quality metalwork actually. Small black buttons, they're clearly decent tuners. This really odd bit of script here that says crafted in China. I've got no problem with saying something's made in China, but what's wrong with a little sticker? Why are you putting it on there like that's sort of a mark of something? I don't know. Bit odd that. And there we are, finishing it off. Aquila strings, half decent. Branded gig bag, that's not too bad, and the price comes in quite surprising if you can find them, because they're quite poorly stocked. I think £240 in the UK. Okay, that's the same price as a flea in the UK for another bowl back instrument, and with a pickup and with a bag that you don't get with a flea. But the flea is made in the USA, which pushes its price up. This is made in China, so I'm wondering where the cost has gone in this. Right, let's have a look at it in more detail. Right, it's heavy. It's uncomfortably heavy. Okay, it's a Soprano. It's not like a lead weight, but bear in mind it's about 25% heavier than the flea. This is 560 grams. It feels like a club. It feels substantial. Whether that's a good thing, I don't know. And that's surprising considering there's no battery packs in here. So where's the weight coming from? Maybe it's this thick back. I don't know. Oddly, it's really balanced. I like the look of it overall. The build is pretty good. Bit of a scruffy neck there, but that's my only gripe with it really, and the plain look of the KOAE and the odd look of those buttons. But other than that, it's not an unattractive instrument. Let's have a play though, and I'm gonna have to do this one in 2 goes. I don't like having to plug in electroacoustic instruments on the video because you're just hearing an amplifier through a microphone. But let's just have a look at it acoustic first of all. First of all, the volume is rubbish. There isn't any. It's really quiet, very quiet. I think this would be lost played acoustically in a jam. Sustain, it's actually better. To be fair, there is some sustain there and some nice vibration in my hand. But where's the volume gone? And that tone is thin and brittle and one-dimensional. I really don't like the tone at all. Finger picking is a bit better, but it sounds like an old speaker. sounds like, yeah, an old AM transmission. That's really disappointing. But as I say, got to be a review of two halves. So when I came up with the sound score on the written review, that's actually a combination of the acoustic sound, which I think is pretty awful, and of course being plugged in. Now I've got this plugged into a Roland acoustic amplifier on flat settings. And what I'd say about it is an amplifier can only amplify what signal it's given, and what's coming out of this is a very pizzo, quacky, simple signal. And it's a thin signal because it's a thin tone acoustic. However, I don't think that's a bad thing because it's really clean, it's balanced across all the strings, there's no noise, there's no muddiness other than the sound of the ukulele, and that's a good thing because it's giving you a very clean, simple signal to start with. Where you go from there with your EQ section on your amplifier or effects pedals or things like that, sky's the limit. You don't want, this is why I don't like a lot of the inbuilt active pickup systems, because they have a muddiness to the tone, or they've coloured the tone before it's come out. This sounds just like you'd want it to sound. It's basic, but the sky's the limit with what you can then do with it. Apart from the fact I hate jack sockets down there. Yeah, okay, right, so this leaves me with a bit of a dilemma. I wouldn't recommend this instrument if you're only going to play it acoustically, because I don't think it performs very well. I think you wouldn't be heard, it sounds too thin, it sounds too echoey. However, it's really well made, solid as a rock, feels nice to play, looks good, I think, and works really well with that clean passive pickup, which reminds me very much of the passive pickups on things like Risa Uke Solids. So a very clean output that you can then shape and play games with. This could be a really reliable stage instrument for performing, but only if you're going to plug in. So I think it's automatically just limited the number of people who are going to be interested in it. I quite like it as a plugged-in instrument, but a bit like that Fender Fullerton, which sounded alright plugged in. It just makes you wonder, why make the acoustic side of this at all? Why not just make a solid body with that Ovation headstock and this look to give a nod to the style that they're trying to achieve? But don't bother with the acoustic, because the acoustic tone here is just not very good. Electric only, great. Acoustic, no. The Ovation UCS10P KOAE Soprano ukulele with a bowl back. Mixed views. Just be very sure of what you want out of this if you're thinking about buying one. 240 quid in the UK. Right, back next week. Something that's going to make you want to adjust your eyes when you see it. An interesting one. Enjoy the rest of your week. Take care, everybody. See you soon. Bye bye.